And as we are addressing, in particular, we are updating the deck, but also we are updating the facilitation. So we want to be sure that the facilitation is applicable from Gold Command to schools to Platinum level, so even to policy level. What you would envision that we should consider in the facilitation process that is critical for you, things that you see in terms of foresight, for example?
Well, I think that the most important thing is to include all layers of authorities, including communities.
Yeah.
So I think that the fact that we can apply this game into a community and we can apply this game at the level of ministers, this is very important. Of course, each one will be looking at it differently.
Yeah.
And the facilitation will have to be adapted to those who are in the game at that moment. Yeah. You know, because if you are working at the level of community, maybe the way they think, the way they approach will be different than the head of the civil protection will be thinking on how he will approach things and how he will plan for them or she will plan for them. But still, I think that this is the interesting thing, is that you can adapt the facilitation, and we should adapt the facilitation to the group that is playing the game. And I think that this is easy. This is not very hard to do it.
Absolutely. And the next stress test that we are doing is going to be also in London, and we are targeting exactly third sector and humanitarian organization, because the Greater London Authority has asked us to try the approach to get them involved.
But one thing which is very important is that though we are approaching a certain layer, they have to be aware of the other layers. And they have to be aware that their layer is doing this, but there will be other layers that are reacting and that need to interact and work with them. So again, if we are talking about a community, we should not be thinking of the whole thing in a silos. This is the community and that's it. But we are not looking at the central government. We're not looking at national emergency services and so on. We need to look at all these things so that they know what to expect. They know what not to expect. They know how realistic are their expectations, and what also we expect from them as a community, because we always say to them, you need to be prepared. You need to prepare for this. You need to have your food and water for the next 72 hours. You need to have a battery operated radio. You need to have this, that. They need to know that they have also, at the lowest level, they have some tasks they have to fulfill to be prepared, and that they are part of the system. I think this game will help to convince people that they are part of the solution and that they can do things rather than being the problem.
Absolutely. And while I have you here, I'm going to ask you also another question, if I can, under call it my other advisory role for the United Nations and the network of chief resilience officers. So I have some colleagues from corporate that advise that there is still the need for integration between government and private sector, in particular large corporate, for emergency response. One of them, of record, so I'm not going to disclose who was, but a very smart person, told me that, for example, a possible application of this approach to stress testing could be also to facilitate the formal or informal exchange of information and good practices with private sector. Do you think this is another application?
Yes, we just had a workshop on public-private cooperation and preparedness and building up resilience. The private sector, especially that it owns a lot of the critical infrastructure and critical services in a society, they need to be part of it. So this will encourage them to come and to understand. I was attending a meeting about public-private cooperation and building up resilience together. And someone from the private sector, he asked me, what's in it for us? And I told him, for you, it is the fact that you can continue doing business.
Yes.
So you have to invest. And you don't have to expect that others will be paying you to build up your resilience, because your sector has to build up its own resilience and invest in resilience and in strengthening the critical infrastructure you are running, because your interest as a private sector is to do business further during a disaster. You know, so I think that such games may make them more aware of the impact of a disaster and how they can prepare for a disaster, and that they need to prepare. They cannot expect only that the government will prepare and then will support everyone. They need to build up and to create their own resilience mechanism so that they can provide further during stress times.